I think the current wisdom within the campaign is that there is now a 20 to 30% sector of the electorate which is going to be disappointed and unhappy with the president sending a protest message no matter what state or what area of the country. So I think they sound resigned to losing 30%. Of course, that is something Buchanan would turn around and claim victory.
And thanks very much. ABC's Ann Compton live for us this morning at the White House. The president and the Congress are not seeing eye to eye on exactly how to deal with the Chinese. The president once again vetoing a congressional bill that would have linked progress on human rights in China to his status as a most favored nation trading partner with the U.S. The president says the best way to change the Chinese policy is through diplomacy. Chinese officials say President Bush made what they're calling a wise decision. On Capitol Hill, the Senate Finance Committee is about to take on a new plan the Democrats are pushing to try to revive the economy. This one reportedly would raise the top tax rate to 36%. The House wants it to be 35%. President Bush wants it left at the current 31%. There would be a 10% surcharge for incomes over $1 million. Families would get a tax credit. For each child under the age of 16, the credit would be no more than $300 per child, and it would be phased out the more that a family actually makes. Overseas this morning, the former Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin is in a Tel Aviv hospital this morning. Doctors say he suffered a heart attack. Begin is 78 years old. He won the Nobel Peace Prize for the Camp David Peace Accords that he and President Sadat and President Carter signed back in 1979. Begin has, to a fairly large extent, been out of the public eye since the death of his wife nearly 10 years ago. In the old Soviet Union this morning, some troops of the former Red Army are leaving the tense region of Nagorno-Karabakh. They were sent in to try to stop ethnic violence, but they simply couldn't do that job. Armenians who live in the region say rival groups of Azerbaijanis killed hundreds of people in a massacre over this past week. Changing gears right now, baseball, a record-setting contract for the Chicago Cubs star Ryne Sandberg. Starting next year, Ryne Sandberg will make $28 million over the next 4 seasons. That's right, $7 million per season. Ryne Sandberg is 32 years old and obviously very, very happy. His deal breaks the record that was set back in December when Bobby Bonilla signed his contract with the Mets for a paltry $5 million a year. How will he ever get by? Joan, Spencer?
It's going to be tough, Mike. You got to consider $7 million after taxes is probably only about $3.5 million. So, you know, it's going to be tough.
Well, obviously, he'll just have to make do with maybe one new car every month.
Yeah. I'm not even going to get involved in this. Thanks, Mike. Well, you got a lot of raindrops and things on that map of yours.
We have indeed. We have a taxing weather map as well. I'll show you what's going on. Lots of heavy rain, but much-needed rainfall pushed through Southern California, Nevada, and Arizona yesterday. And during the overnight hours, you can see the movement of those cloud systems by way of satellite here. And there was considerable flooding in the desert areas of Southern California, Nevada, and southwestern Arizona. The dry, parched ground doesn't absorb the water quite so well as other normal ground would.
To be a presidential primary somewhere, and in fact today there are several. This round of primaries and caucuses is being called Junior Tuesday, coming as it does just a week before Super Tuesday. And a total of 7 states vote today, primaries being held in Georgia, Maryland, Colorado, and Utah, and caucuses are being held in Idaho, Minnesota, Washington State, and also in American Samoa. Joining us as we focus in on 2 of the most prominent primaries are Cynthia Tucker in Atlanta. She's the editor of the editorial page for the Atlanta Constitution. And with us from WJZ-TV in Baltimore is John Willis. He's the author of Presidential Elections in Maryland. And I thank you each for being with us. Let me start with Georgia, and Cynthia, let me start with you. After New Hampshire, Bill Clinton was saying that Paul Tsongas is just a regional candidate, can't be elected across the country, and yet it would seem as if Bill Clinton down in Georgia is fighting desperately to hold his regional base in the South.
Indeed, I think that he is. In fact, Governor Clinton is already trying to lower expectations for his win here in Georgia. Mr. Tsongas is definitely picking up steam here, and Governor Clinton is now telling his supporters that he will pick up steam as the primaries go along. So he's already trying to set lower expectations.
In the Mike Von Friend piece during the news, an analyst of Georgia politics said if Clinton doesn't have a convincing victory in Georgia, it always gets to the expectation game. Cynthia, what's a convincing victory for Bill Clinton in Georgia?
Well, I think that Governor Clinton needs to do better than the 40% that the polls are showing him with, and do more like 50 or 60. And I'm not sure that he can pull that off.
And he has to do that because there are so many Southern primaries coming up in Super Tuesday.
Indeed, and he hasn't won a primary so far. So he needs to take major momentum into the Super Tuesday primaries. If his strength is indeed in the South, he needs to show considerable strength in the South, because he does not have that considerable strength yet anywhere else.
John Willis, let me turn to Maryland, because we've been talking about regional appeals from different candidates, but Maryland is interesting because it's a relatively level playing field in that there's no Democratic candidate from your area, and it is a heavily Democratic state. How's the field doing?
Well, I think you're right. I think Maryland is a true test. We don't have a candidate that considers Maryland as part of their region, but Maryland has a wide variety of constituencies here, and I think each of the candidates has something they can play to in Maryland.
Paul Tsongas has said that Maryland is critical for him. Is he running well in the state?
He is. In the last 3 polls over the last 2 weeks, he's shown a lead anywhere between 3 and 10 percentage points here in Maryland. Governor Clinton had early endorsements from a lot of the elected officials here and is holding his own. It's a question of where the turnout's going to be in Maryland, whether it'll be from the inner city in Baltimore City or the suburbs around the Washington metropolitan area or the regions in western Maryland or the Eastern Shore.
John, we agree it's a level playing field in Maryland. What message seems to be taking hold, or that voters seem to be listening to with particular care there?
Well, I think the economic message is really the battleground for the Democrats in Maryland. They're pretty much similar on all the social issues and all the civil rights issues. There has not been much foreign policy debate. It's been the economic debate and how to attack that problem, and as well as, I guess, secondarily, the health care issue.
John, you mentioned inner city vote a moment ago, where the vote will come from. Has any candidate in Maryland made a particular pitch for the black vote?
Well, Governor Clinton got the endorsement last week of Mayor Schmoke in Baltimore, which I think will be of assistance, but it has been, there is not a monolithic African-American vote in Maryland. The other candidates have endorsements as well, both in the D.C. suburbs as well as in the central core of Baltimore City.
Cynthia Tucker, let me turn back to you on the Republican side quickly, because Pat Buchanan has made Georgia such an important part of his strategy. Who were his voters? How's he doing?
Well, I think that, I don't think that Mr. Buchanan will do as well here in Georgia as he did in New Hampshire. However, he could still provide an embarrassment for the president. He could still get, I think, as much as 30% of the vote, which ought to be an embarrassment for the president against a man who has never held elective office. Pat Buchanan is pandering to racial issues here. Unfortunately, there are some voters in the South for whom that still has appeal. So I think Mr. Buchanan is picking up what I think of as the David Duke vote. David Duke is not on the ballot here, and Pat Buchanan is picking up some of the voters who would have gone for him.
It's interesting. He got 37% in New Hampshire. You're saying that he could do well in the expectation game even if he doesn't equal the New Hampshire vote?
Even if he does not, exactly.
All right. Cynthia Tucker, thank you very much. John Willis, thank you for being with us. 2 of the important primaries today. As we mentioned, other primaries in Colorado. That a very important one. The state of Utah as well, and caucuses to be held today in 3 states as well. It is 15 minutes after the hour. A terminal flu. Michael Gillen on the Michelangelo computer virus when Good Morning America continues.
I'm consumer editor Paula Lyons. By now, just about everyone knows asbestos can be hazardous to your health, but tearing it out of your house may be the worst thing you can do. Find out why later on Good Morning America.
Right now at 7:18, the Renaissance artist Michelangelo is best known for creating works of art that have stood the test of time. But beware, the files and programs in your personal computer might not stand the same test if the virus called Michelangelo strikes. It is set to activate on Michelangelo's birthday. That's this coming Friday, March 6th. Our science editor, Michael Gillen, joins us now with an explanation of the Michelangelo virus and some advice on how to avoid the effects of this pesky little computer bug.
Boy, that it is.
First of all, what is it, and what can it do?
It's a small coded message shown that if it gets into your computer, will wipe out everything in it. Now, we're talking about computers that have a hard disk that use IBM or IBM-compatible programming, so we're not talking Macintosh or Apple computers. Here's how it works. If the virus gets into the computer, usually it gets in by way of a floppy disk. Gets in there, it sits dormant, doesn't bother, but if you happen to turn your computer on March 6th, it activates the virus. and it records over everything you have on the hard disk, almost like somebody recording over your favorite videotape. So everyone who gets a virus into their computer, who turns their computer on March 6th, stands to lose everything.
But where does it come from?
$64,000 question. You know, no one really knows. It was first detected in April in Europe. Maybe it was an individual who deliberately infected, let's say, one floppy disk. That got into a computer, infected that computer, which in turn infected every other floppy disk that was inserted into it, which then went on to infect other computers, and it spread. Now, I have to say that as viruses go, there aren't that many reported incidences of this Michelangelo virus so far, but there is an enormous fear factor because if your computer gets it, it's fatal. It wipes everything out.
It doesn't, the computer still runs, but everything you've ever had in there.
The computer still runs, but everything you've ever stored in it is gone.
Let's talk, are there ways, can you protect yourself?
A lot of different ways. For example, you can turn your computer on March 5th and let it run through March 7th, so you avoid turning it on March 6th.
It's the turning it on March 6th.
It's the turning it on the March 6th that activates it, exactly, Joan. Or you can reset the internal clock in your computer to March 7th, skipping over March 6th. In fact, that's what we're doing here at Good Morning America.
Businesses, I understand.
The only hitch with that is that next March 6th...
Get out of here, everything.
Because the virus will still be there. So that's only a partial solution. You should also, if you think you're at risk, back up all your files. So
just
that
have
in
copies
case,
of everything.
that's right, in case the virus does strike, you'll have something to back it up. But the best advice I can give is that there are antiviral programs, believe it or not, on the market. And we've
like
listed
giving a
some
pill
of them.
to your computer.
It really is in many ways. There's an enormous comparison between this and bacterial human viruses. Here are some of the programs. Central Point Antivirus, FPROT. They come with these weird names. We have other forums that we can show you. Virix PC, for example. All of these are available on the market. All of these are about 6 months old, because if you use an antivirus, here's Dr. Solomon's toolkit, if you use an antiviral program that is older than 6 months, Joan, then it won't be equipped to handle the Michelangelo virus, because the Michelangelo virus is a relatively new one.
So this has to be relatively new. However, sometimes if you bought a new computer, like I bought one within the last 6 months, I might be more inclined to worry about it because some of them have been shipped out with viruses.
That's right. It's not likely, but there's a possibility. If there is any confusion the viewers have, we do have an 800 number for the National Computer Security Association.
Okay.
It's 1-800-488-4595. If it's busy, keep trying. They only have 3 phone lines, but they can advise you as to what antiviral program is best suited to your computer.
Couple questions. First of all, if you trade floppy disks, you're more inclined to have this, right?
That's basically how this virus spreads, absolutely, yes.
And we're talking about not just big businesses, but we're talking about regular, everyday home computers,
We're talking about 80 to 100 million computers that have hard disks and that are IBM or IBM compatible. The banks use them, for example, the New York Stock Exchange.
But what I don't get is if you've got a computer sitting in your house and you don't trade floppy disks, how would it get there?
If you don't trade floppy disks and you haven't even bought any, you don't have anything to worry about. But even if you buy a shrink-wrapped
it could even be in
disk that you think is clean, yes.
You just don't know.
You just don't know. The virus can get in subtle ways.
1-800-488-4595 if you have questions. Michael, thank you.
You bet.
And we'll be back.
Ireland, the model you'll be seeing a lot of on the cover and inside this year's Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. Mark, Harry, got a show to do here.
Mark, do you care about the Sports Illustrated issue coming out every year? Is that a...
Very dearly, deeply, every year. Yes, I do. I care very much. Thank you.
I just wanted to...
All right.
But maybe
So
you
I don't.
Well, and we'll just separate ourselves for just a moment or two and proceed on with that segment a little bit later on in this half hour. Also in this half hour, how you can help an overweight teenager who is addicted to food. Dr. Bob Arnott will be here with more in his series, Fat Madness, The Truth About Dieting. And if the look is familiar, it's supposed to be. That's Desi Arnaz Jr. playing his father in the new movie, The Mambo Kings, and we're going to hear from him just ahead.
All right, first it's time for the news this morning. The first votes have been cast on this busiest day so far of Campaign 92. In Georgia, the stakes are high for candidates of both parties. It's today's main battleground between President Bush and Republican challenger Patrick Buchanan. Eric Engberg has more.
On his final day on the campaign trail in Georgia, Pat Buchanan sounded like a candidate who wasn't just running against the president, but against Washington and all who serve there.
We're going to take them all out. We're after them all. We're taking no prisoners up there.
It's an appeal aimed at the large chunk of the electorate fed up with both parties. And Buchanan, challenging a well-entrenched president and the GOP apparatus, needs help in both parties to have a chance in Georgia. Here, Democrats can cross over to vote in the Republican primary. Buchanan is going to extra lengths to try to get them to do just that.
Bill Clinton isn't conservative. George Bush isn't a conservative. And heaven knows Paul Tsongas is no conservative.
In keeping with a strategy, he was careful not to offend supporters of David Duke, who is not on the Georgia ballot. Given a chance to criticize the ex-Klan leader turned politician, the normally tough-talking Buchanan measured his words.
If you believe in equal opportunity under law and equal justice under law, as I do, and no discrimination means no discrimination, you don't have to join the KKK to make that statement.
The effort to transfer the New Hampshire political shock to the Sun Belt ended with a big rally in Marietta and Buchanan pleading for Democratic votes again. His needs today are easy to describe. Another New Hampshire. Eric Engberg, CBS News, Atlanta.
The Democrats also have an important showdown in today's Georgia voting. Bill Clinton has campaigned hard there, seeking his first victory of the primary season. Clinton is favored to win, but polls show Paul Tsongas is starting to narrow the gap. Tsongas is viewed as the leader in several other states, among the 7 holding Democratic primaries or caucuses today. The Chinese government is praising President Bush for vetoing a bill that would impose conditions on U.S. trade with China. The rejected measure would have required Beijing to show progress on human rights and other issues before most favored nation trade status could be renewed. In the former Soviet Republic of Azerbaijan, grisly new evidence today of a massacre. A warning, some of these pictures are graphic. Refugees and reporters say dozens of bodies of Azerbaijani civilians, including children, are now being recovered. Witnesses blame Armenian militants in Nagorno-Karabakh, the heavily Armenian enclave inside of Azerbaijan. The flags of Armenia and Azerbaijan were among those of 8 former Soviet republics unfurled at the United Nations. In all, 9 new UN members were seated in the General Assembly yesterday. The 9th is San Marino, a tiny country in the Italian Alps known as the world's oldest independent republic. Finally this morning, Wayne's World wins at the box office yet again. Wayne and Garth were #1 for the 3rd straight week, taking in $9.5 million last weekend alone. Rounding out the top 5, the newly released Memoirs of an Invisible Man, followed by Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, Fried Green Tomatoes, and Medicine Man. There you have it, at 25 minutes before the hour. And you said the best joke in that movie this weekend had to do with Bewitched. Dick York, Dick Sargent.
Dick Sargent. Both of them played Darren, Sargent, York, RRR.
So you loved Wayne's World?
Nope, didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. I like them on Saturday Night Live. I just thought it was too long.
5 minutes at a time?
Yeah. But we have Kathy Ireland coming on, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Big fan of her acting. She was in Unnecessary Roughness. It was a football movie. Thought she was brilliant.
Well, she'll be here, and you know.
She played a place
maybe you
kicker.
can talk about acting methods.
I think that was Oscar material. I really did. Okay, let's talk about the Mark's Velcro wall. Plunk. Okay. Sheesh. We need to get a couple more wake-up call thingies there. Greenville, North Carolina, mostly cloudy, 57 degrees.
Swimsuit issues expected to be seen, if not read, by 45 million people. The issue shows off 11 of the world's most beautiful models in exotic locations all over Spain. Supermodel Kathy Ireland makes her 9th appearance, and we can finally reveal that she is also the cover model for the 2nd time. And Kathy joins us along with Sports Illustrated senior editor Julie Campbell, who's been behind all 28 swimsuit issues. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Is that really a big deal? You've done this so many times before. Is it really a big deal to get on the cover?
Oh, it's a great deal. I was on the cover 3 years ago, and at the time I really had no idea what an impact it would have, but it's pretty great. It's exciting.
When do you find out? I mean, is there any sense while you're all out there shooting these things that maybe it's one or another, or is it when they look at all the pictures at the end, they finally say, this is the one we're going to put on the front? Is that how it works?
Yeah, no one knows who's going to be on the cover. It's never planned. It's just...
We don't predetermine.
Yeah.
We try to shoot a cover on every girl.
Yeah. In Spain, why Spain this year? Every year it's a different location. Because of the Olympics.
The 92 Olympics.
Right.
What I didn't realize is the weather that's the same latitude as Philadelphia, and you don't put bikinis on girls in November.
So that was hard work then, Kathy?
Well, we had our work cut out for us. It was beautiful. We had beautiful locations, but we did have the elements against us. A lot of rain.
Yeah.
And Julie was telling me on some of her locations she even had a little bit of hail.
Is this hard work? With this, because this goes on for weeks and weeks and weeks, right? Is it hard work?
We get up at 3 or 4 in the morning. It's a long day, 4 hours sleep.
What's the toughest part for you?
The toughest part for me, I would say, is just dealing with the elements, and you've always got to be ready, even though we're sitting around waiting for the sun to come out.
Right.
We're camera ready. Underneath our down jackets, we've got our bathing suits and
She's
ready to
not
go.
telling you everything. When I say, Kathy, would you get wet? Do you want my hair wet, Kathy? And she just goes under and comes up smiling, tries not to have goosebumps, right?
Yeah, keeping control of the goosebumps is pretty challenging.
You put that on a resume someplace, have complete and total control of goosebumps.
Control.
11 issues that you've been in, right?
9.
Nine altogether. You're married, right?
I'm married.
What does your husband think of all of this?
My husband's wonderful. I scored big time in that department. He's great, and he's very supportive, and he's a very secure man, so he doesn't feel threatened by this, and he thinks it's pretty neat.
He was a fan before we got
He was a
married.
fan?
Yeah.
Did he see you in the magazine before you were married?
Actually, he did.
So he knew who you were?
Yeah.
Never mind. Let me ask you another question, because I can remember from years and years and years ago, we get Sports Illustrated, and it would be this sort of, this kind of warm fuzzy at the end of a long, cold winter. Now, this is this huge, big business. How many people are going to buy the magazine? Just more than usual.
Usually about 100,000 every week. This will reach around 5 million with newsstand.
And what kind of, and does HBO does a show too, and you sell videos from this too?
Yes, and you can also buy the cassettes to look at it at home if you want to.
Because I read somewhere the other day that one year they sold 500,000. You sold 500,000 of these cassettes.
A lot of them.
How do you decide what to or not to put in? Because I'm looking through this magazine, and I saw this one picture, and I thought, they wouldn't have done this when I was a kid. It's just, how do you decide what's in good or not good taste?
Work very hard to do something in good taste, but you put 1 or 2 teasers in there.
Teasers.
Stir the pot a little bit.
Stir the pot.
I call that the Valentine picture.
Is it the one with the bumps?
Well.
Which, whatever. Okay, well, listen, good luck. And, you know, the best part, Mark and I agree, is not necessarily the swimsuit issue, but 2 weeks later when all the letters come in.
Oh, the letters. The letters are worth it.
Thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you.